When people first see a Yakut knife, they usually notice what makes it different. What interests me is something else. Why did the differences appear in the first place? Let's find out. Every knife begins with a piece of steel. This one begins with an old file. Files are made from high carbon steel, developed to resist wear over the years of hard use. That same quality makes them well suited for a working knife, expected to keep a sharp edge. Before forging begins, I weld on a temporary handle. It offers better control while the steel is hot and keeps my hands farther from the fire. Once the blade is finished, it will simply be cut away. With the steel is at forging temperature, the real shaping begins. Rather than removing material later, I forge the blades close to its final geometry from the start. This preserves more of the steel and leaves less work for the grinder. Most of the effort is focused along the future cutting edge, with the blade drawn out to create a long even taper. Good forging, it's not about striking harder. It's about placing each blow where it moved the steel with purpose. The next step is to forge the point. On a hunting knife, the tip is one of the hardest working parts of the blade. It's used when opening the hide and making the first precise cuts, where both control and durability matter. Rather than grinding the profile from the thicker piece of steel, I forge the point into shape while the metal is still hot. This allows the geometry to develop naturally under the hammer, with every little material removed later. Every stage of forging is really a process of moving steel, not wasting it. A simple guide helps keep the fuller straight and protects the blade while it's being forged. One question has followed the Yakut knife for generations. Why is the fuller so deep? Several explanations have been suggested over the years. No one can say with certainty which one first inspired this design, but one of them has always seemed particularly convincing to me. Think of this strip of paper as a knife blade. While it's flat, it bends easily. Fold it along the center, and without adding any material, it becomes much stiffer. The Yakut fuller may work on the same principle, increasing rigidity while keeping the blade light. With the blade finished, the tang is forged to its final shape. It may never be seen again, but the strength of the handle depends on it. Before hardening, the steel is heated once more and allowed to cool slowly. This helps relieve the stress created during forging. Forging establishes the geometry. Grinding simply refines it. The less steel that needs to be removed here, the more accurately the forging was done. Once the blade reaches the proper temperature, it must be cooled quickly. For this knife, I use ordinary sunflower oil at room temperature. Different steels require different quenching media. The goal is always the same, achieving maximum hardness without risking unnecessary cracks. Cutting into glass isn't a measure of edge sharpness. It's a quick way to confirm that the blade has hardened successfully before the final finish begins. Heat treatment has given the blade its hardness. From this point on, controlling heat becomes just as important. Frequent cooling in water prevents the cutting edge from losing the hardness gained during quenching. Mirror polishing isn't only about appearance. A polished surface makes even the smallest imperfections impossible to ignore. Experience has shown me that the final finish rarely improves a blade. It simply reveals how carefully the aerial work was done. The bolster marks the transition between blade and handle. It protects the front of the handle from wear and helps create a clean, lasting fit between steel and the materials that follow. Every surface that meets another must fit precisely. Even the smallest gap will only become more visible as the work progresses. A well-made knife is often judged by its smallest joints. The closer the fit between two materials, the less noticeable it becomes. Good fit is something you only notice when it's missing. Before looking at the handle of this knife, I'd like to show one of the traditional ways Yakun handles have been mounted for generations. One of the most common methods is also one of the simplest. A round hole is drilled through the handle, and the tang is fitted inside. Small wooden wedges are then driven into the remaining gaps, locking the tang firmly in place. No adhesives are required, just a precise fit and simple mechanical joint that has served working knives for generations. For this project, however, I've chosen a different construction. Instead of a solid wooden handle, I'll be using compressed birch bark, following another long-standing northern tradition. At first glance, birch bark may seem like an unusual choice, but practical materials tend to stay in use for a reason. Birch bark served as roofing, containers, fire starters, and knife handles, not because it was the only option, because it proved to be a good one. Preparing birch bark takes time. Every piece is cut to the same size before being compressed into a solid block. Pressure removes air between the layers and keeps them tightly aligned. The bark is then boiled under pressure. Heat softens the natural structure of the bark, allowing the layers to bond together more closely. The process is repeated twice, gradually creating a dense and remarkably durable material. Every handle begins long before the workbench. It begins here. Birch bark can be harvested without harming the tree, provided it's done carefully and at the right time of year. Only the outer bark is removed. The living layer beneath must remain untouched. Treated with care, the tree quickly protects the exposed surface and continues to grow. This birch was harvested several years ago. Today the scar is still visible, but the tree remains healthy. Tradition isn't only about knowing what to take, it's also about knowing what to leave behind. Once prepared, the individual pieces come together in a single assembly. At this stage, every earlier decision has to fit precisely. There is little room left for correction. The tang passes through the entire handle, and it's pinned over the end plate. Adhesives hold the material together while they are assembled. The riveted tang keeps them together for the life of the knife. The final shape is refined slowly, removing only what isn't needed. A good handle isn't shaped to attract attention. It's shaped to disappear in the hand. Every traditional knife reflects the place where it was born. This one follows the logic of the Yakut knife, interpreted through my own hands. In the next film, I'll make the traditional leather sheath that complete this knife.